Yeah, so allow me to start the lesson by welcoming everyone. Last week we did some few things, and we are picking from there and continue our lesson. So our lesson for this week, just as I said on the WhatsApp group, our lesson for this week. Can everyone hear? Can everyone see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can, Moses.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, yeah. So I hope everyone installed the two packages. These two packages are the ones that I said we will use today. So I forget to one code that is much more important, which is to make sure that we remove everything in our working space. Just like Stata or other softwares, we need to make sure our space is clean. We don't have anything inside. So this little code here, it says RM, so it's remove list. That's a list of item that is in my space. For example, here my environment has nothing in here. So this one won't work, but let me just demonstrate what I mean. So if I learn, the first one is I'm setting my working directory, which we have been talking all over and over. And then this one will do nothing because my environment is still empty. And then I wrote the library for importing Excel files. I wrote another library for importing files such as SPSS and the like. And then I wrote this library, which we will be more dealing with today for data manipulation and the like. And then this one is more for the tables, like just so that the tables look nice. And then I import my food data, which we already did last week. So if I go back and I run this command, it will remove everything in my working space. So that what I want to input there is something that is new. So I get my food package in, I get my wash data set in, I get a table of that. We already did some of these things up to, we also did some rounding. How do we round into up to a single digit, up to a single digit. And then we also had to go and do some classes, knowing what class, so like characters or numeric and etc. But we did not learn any command concerning importing data from a CSV file. So a CSV file is the most common file for installing data or getting data in many formats. For example, if you have an electronic medical report or records, when you extract data from that database, mostly it might come in a CSV file. It might come in any other format, but CSV is a most popular one. So I can see, sorry for that, I see there is some messages I need to attend to. Apologies for that. Okay. Yeah, so today what I want us to do is to import data using a CSV file. So once we get to a CSV file, but I think in there was no CSV file. So we can also create a CSV file using our R. So we will use the data set, which is the WASH data set, to create a CSV file. So I will just say write. I think you can also do the same. If you hit write, then there will be a write CSV. So I'll pick that CSV. Then I'll write this CSV. I'll get my data set called WASH, and then I'll write it as wash.csv. CSV. And so if I do that, it means that I am saving my data set, which is WASH. In the first place, it was in an SPSS1. We had to take it and put it into R. Now it's in R format, but we have to save the same data to a CSV file. So if I run this command, fine and good. But how do I know that? How do I know that it's in there as a CSV file? So if I go to my, I open my folder on the desktop, or open any folder where you are keeping your R files, the one I talked about. So here I will show, I hope you can see it, and then I'll go to intro to R, and then now I see a file called wash CSV. Let me know if you have done that and if it works. Anyone who has problems? So silent, I would assume that it is working. Now, I have written I have saved my CSV file. But I'll need to get that back. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll just say, okay, name this data set. For example, whatever name I would give it. All right. So water in our language is called Madzi. That's our language, our Malawian language. So I will say, okay, I'll just take it as that as a file, as a name of a file, but you can name it whatever you need. And then I'll say, read a CSV file called wash.csv. So if I do that, then now I get that particular data set called Madzi, which is the wash file .csv. You might have a lot of some messages down there, but don't worry. Once you get that, then that's okay. So it means we have import our data. Our data is in the system, but if you go to this data set, you click on it and you find that it has a lot of variables. We will not use all of these, and we don't need all of these right now. So what do? I therefore need to subset the data set. I need only to select those that I need. So if I go here, I find, wow, that's a lot, about 72 variables. That's a lot of them. 72 columns, that's a lot of them. I don't need to do this. I only need some variables. So I will call, I will say, okay, make a data set called wash. I'm trying to put capitals here just to separate the wash, the first wash, because the first wash is small letters and has 72 variables. But I only need part of these variables. So I'll say, okay, don't do all of them. So I'll say only select I select from, this is my dataset name. Then I need to select what? So I need to select the household ID. So select the household ID and then select gender, respondent. I'll also need to select age, respondent age or age respondent. That's how it was saved. But how do I know that I need these kind of variables? So I will not learn it here. I will learn it in the console here, as I need just to go to get column. We already did this last week here. Column names is to get the variable names. So I will say column names of my dataset code Madzi. And if I run that one, it will give me a list of all the variables that I have. So I can know that now I'll be, okay, I will not need to get all of these, but I need just to select few of them. Now, in order for you not to make mistakes, because typing might sometimes give you problems. For example, if I do this, whilst here it's a respondent, age respondent, and then here I say respondent, like that one, and then I try to run this one, I'll need to get an error here. So it will say can't subset columns that don't exist, because I don't, in my data set, there's a column which has age respondents, as well as gender. I think the spelling is not fine. So what do we do? What I usually do, for me, I copy the whole of this chunk. I'll copy the whole of this chunk up to here. I'll copy it, and then I'll place it here. Okay. It looks a bit not okay, but that's fine. So here it's when I'll just start deleting that way, making sure that I have like everything that I need. So I need household ID. I also need gender respondents. I also need, so I'll put a comma there. I also need age respondents. I also need age respondent. That's education level. I also need household head. What else do I need? I need total number of household members. I think for this lesson, that's all what I need. But we can always try to play around and get everything that you need. But for sake of this lesson, that's all I need. So I'll put here a bracket, and then I'll delete this chunk because I don't need it. But otherwise, you can select all the variables that you need the way you want them. So if I do that, why did I just align them? It doesn't matter. Even if it's straight like this, like that way, it will still work. So I want to just demonstrate, but I mostly use them that way just for readability sake, because you have to, I mean, it should be well structured for you to read. So that way, it will still work. Okay, so if I run this command, I'll now have my dataset code wash, which has only 6 variables. instead of the one that had what? 72. Okay, so that's how I think we have achieved the first one, where I was talking that we should know how to select variables from a larger sort of data set. So if you click on this one, you only find that it has a household ID, gender, age, education level, household head, and total household members. And I can go back here. So you can always reach me via text if you have problems. So that's how we select variables. And then on our agenda, the next was to on the outline that I gave. The next was not next, maybe it might not follow that order, but well, household ID is too long. The name is just too long. Gender respondent is too long. Was age respondent. I need to shorten these variables. So how do I shorten those variables?
Imported is watch food.
Sorry?
No.
Leonard, do you have problems? All right, so I said like these names are too long. It will be difficult maybe to remember them or to subset them at a later stage. What do I do? So I will say, okay, get, now formulate another data set or subset or make the same data set. Why am I not using the very same data set? The reason is, at sometimes I might do mistake down here. I would want to refer back to my original data set. So once you tamper with the data set, it might be difficult to recorrect all the mistakes that you have done. So this is the reason why most of the times when we work in R, we usually make a new data set. New data set will always help us to go back to the old data set and if there are some mistakes. So here I'm also making a new data set called, like for example, WASH2, where I said rename. So I'm renaming. And then I will copy the whole of this chunk. So, but then this one is WASH, because it's from this WASH data set. So I will say, okay, I will copy the whole of this chunk up to here. I'll just copy it and then paste them here. So I will say rename ID should be equal to, I will say, okay, household ID should just be equal to ID. And then sex should be equal to gender respondent. And then age should be equal to age respondent. And then education should be equal to age respondent. And then household head, HH should be equal to household head. And then total household members, so I'll just search HH members. That's a long spelling. Members should be equal to that. So in this context, in my new data set, I will no longer see household ID. I'll just be seeing ID, sex, age, household, as in HH, and then HH members. So once I run this one, I have now WASH data. It's the same, but look at the variables on top here. They have all changed. I have now ID, sex, age, AGU, HH, and HH1. Whilst if you go for the other WASH, you all have gender respondent, age respondent, AGU, level, household head, etc. So that's how we do the renaming part. And then I go to, okay, let's get to summary. Or I need to have a summary statistics, for example, for age. So I'll pick summary for age. I'll say wash 1, $. I hope everyone is conversant with the $sign now, what it does. And then I do that. It gives me the summary statistics down here. Okay. So the summary statistics, it tells me the minimum is 12 years and the maximum is 92 years. And we're like, well, no, that's not true. Up to 92 years. I think maybe it was a typo. So that's what I would assume. I'll say, well, maybe this was a typo. How can it be, how can it be up to 92 years? They asked the person who is 92 years about wash issues. I think this is not true. Therefore, I would treat maybe anyone that is above 70 to be an outlier, someone who was not supposed to be in the survey but was included in the survey. And then in our survey, the instruction was that you need to ask anyone who is above 15. But here we are finding someone who is 12 years old. What do I do now then? So in that context, what I need to do is I need to get rid of these guys, those that are above 70 and those that are below 15, they need to go out. Wait a minute, I need to check. So I will say, okay, what if I just view only this? I need just to view this only, wash, and then I need just to see how are they distributed. So wash age view, I only have age here. So if I click sort, I find, there's someone who is 12, 13, 14, 14, and then 16. So I'll treat these 3 guys as outliers because our survey said, ask anyone who is above 15 years of age. And then our survey also said, do not ask anyone who is above 60, for example, or 70, for example. But I get here to find up to 92, 92, 91, 90. So I don't need them. Therefore, I will need to create a data set called maybe wash2, for example. So I'll say, okay, wash2, I'll say filter. Okay, so filter from wash1, what do I need to filter? Filter, get only those that are aged more than or equal to 15 and those that are aged less than or equal to 60, for example. So here it means everyone who is below 16, I don't need. I get that one as an outlier, so I don't need it. And then all those that are above 60, I also don't need them. So unfortunately, I am getting the very same message that this meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, yeah. So what do? I will create another invite and share shortly. So if I run this one, I have now a data set called wash2, which is it has about 536 observations. That means I get rid of the outliers. If I do the same code, summary, and then I say wash1, wash 2, and then I get summary of age. Now I have the minimum 16, the maximum 60. So it means everyone who is below and who is above that is gone. Up to this level, are there any other questions you have, or are you able to follow what I'm doing? So someone has responded, thank you for that. Welcome, Jamin. I think you found us at a point where I'm using a free Zoom account. So we will need to migrate shortly to the very same Zoom, but for another calendar, because this one cannot allow me to proceed. It only gives about 40 minutes. So apologies everyone for that. And the next one can only start at 5. So that will leave us with a lot of time to, all right. Okay, so yeah, for those that can also join, you can join 1 at 5. I will be sending out the invite shortly for the second piece. Since there are no questions, then I can proceed for the remaining 6 minutes as we wait for the other call to start. So I have just rescheduled that. Now, and I'll be sharing shortly. Now, the next, I wanted us to learn on how we can do the renaming, because if we get to here, for example, I will run this one. I'll generate a table. So if we go to here and then we get to table. So I need to get like a table of my data set is called wash 2, and I want a table of sex, for example. So sex here, it will just give me 0, 150, 1, 386. But I don't know what 0 is and what 1 is. So what do? I need to tell my R saying, okay, when you see 0, know that those are males. And when you see 1, know that those are females. I've just shared with you the next class on Zoom for the second class, since this one will be ending shortly. I'll also share on WhatsApp like right away. It starts at 5. So I need to tell R, like, what is the, I need to rename these. So how do I rename them? There are many ways you can do it, but I'll show you the simpler way. So the simpler way is that I need to rename wash2, the variable called sex. I need to rename this one as So I'll put these two square brackets. So if I put those two square brackets, I'll just write wash again, wash 2. And then I'll do 6 again, like that. It's like you are writing the same, but double. And then I'll say, when you find that this one is equal to 0, then just know that this one is male, or capital M, like that. And I'll copy the same kind of chunk and then put it here. And then I'll just change it here to 1 and then change it to female. And then what do? I run this one, I run that one. Now, if I do table again, table, wash 2, and then 6. Now you can see that it's showing down here that you have females 386 and males 150. So that's how we do it. And then I can also do it for education, because my variables here, if you go, you find now has changed to females, age will remain the same, but education I have 0 and the like. So I can also change it depending on my questionnaire. What do? I already copied that, so I only change here. I only change here to edu, and here to edu, and then here to what? So this one will be none. And then I already did that. So sorry. Here I need just to copy this edge now. So copy this edge, put it there. If I change to 1 here, this one will be what? Primary. And then I do the same, I put it here. This one will be 2. And then this one will be secondary. And then I put it here, this one gonna be 3. And then this one will be tertiary, like that. And then I run the whole of this, click run. And now I can try just to check if I'm okay. I'll say table, wash 2, age. If I do that, it will give me 987, primary 326, secondary 120, tertiary 5. Since time is up, ladies and gentlemen, I expect you all at 5. Apologies for this, will keep happening until we find someone who can pay for the Zoom account that we can all use. But as long as we are using this free account, I think we will be inconvenienced in this way, like for the rest of the lessons. But it's still okay. It's okay with me. I mean, we can still utilize the platform in that way. So I'm looking forward to continue from where we stopped.